Hey, hey, ho, ho. What do you know? We are live. We're streaming, man. It's been a bit. It's been a minute, hasn't it? Yeah. Good to see you today. Dolls, pageants, children. I'm going to be talking about some stuff. I'm going to open up an article from our dear friends once again over at apologeticspress.org. And it's titled Baby Dolls, Beauty Pageants, and the Sexualization of Children. We wonder what's going on out there. Kind of found in a stupor of sorts, like, hey, man, this don't make sense. What has happened to our society? What's going on? Seeking answers. Seeking some answers with all this stuff going on that's upside down, it seems. We live in the culture, once again in the season of up is down, down is up. Right is wrong, wrong is right. Evil is good, good is evil. Where'd that all come from? These symptoms of destruction, disorder, chaos, division. Where does it stem from? Where's the source? We take the ibuprofen for the migraine, don't we? But have we ever asked the question, where does the migraine come from? What's the source problem to this ailment? Why do we see our children in such ways as they have become? What's going on? Where has our innocence gone? We have lost God. Why? Well, I'm going to talk about some stuff. If you're new here, if you're not, hey man, Stefan Maya is my name. AddedSouls.com is the website. It's a pleasure to have you along. Please consider sticking around. Sticking around for the substance or value that we share your way in the content produced. Consider subscribing, liking, following, drop a comment, all that kind of stuff. The engagement with the content helps others out there like you and I who may, want to tap into this kind of information. We're going to open up the article on the screen, and we'll read the article, you and I, and we'll share our thoughts, our studies, along with the, of course, information of the article. And we'll go from there as we have been doing. Yeah, I've not been here for a bit. I know, a few weeks now, I think. Local responsibilities, healthy, growing kind of stuff, beautiful kind of stuff. I labor alongside the East Coast Church of Christ over here on the East Coast of Canada. A beautiful, healthy, growing congregation. A location where we can build bridges, mend and heal, have purpose, right? Find goals, create ancestry, future for the greater good of his kingdom. We'd love to have you study with us. Reach out. Come see us. Check out our .com, East Coast churchofchrist.com. You can reach us that way. You can reach out to me, my personal profiles, my social media presence, and I'd love to hear from you. That okay? Yeah. So let's open up the article from our friends here, and we'll just get into it, right? We'll just get into it. Let me see here. Yeah, apologeticspress.org is the location, the digital location, which I encourage you to check out. They have wonderful material over there. I just plug them in because they, when I began asking questions about life, if you will, I wanted to know about this man named Jesus. What's he all about anyways, Because I couldn't really stand much of what Christianity represented. It seemed so much like this self-righteous contradiction or a hypocrisy of sorts. And besides, science said there is no God, right? Well, after a while, I was like, what is there to lose, really, to check out some stuff? And life had its consequences and burdens, and began looking at material from Christians. And I found Apologetics Press. And, man, they were making a lot of sense to me. Just a lot of sound-minded reasoning. And they would use science. That blew me away. They're using science. Wow. I thought Christians didn't know what science was. Stuff like that. So, they have a lot of helpful articles and a lot of sound material. I don't know these brethren personally. I bumped into Kyle, one of the workers there, once, I think, at a lectureship or something like that, but nothing more than that. I just like their material. That they write good stuff and they produce good stuff, and it's sound and it's logical, and So yeah, I'm plugging them in, if you will. But throughout the years, obviously, this is now 12, 13 years ago, I myself have done my own studies, and I've looked into stuff. I've been blessed with the design of observance, to observe things like, what's going on around us. And so we share our thoughts alongside these articles. And it makes for a podcast session that might be beneficial to your faith. If so, again, please like, follow, subscribe, share a comment, that kind of stuff. That okay? That okay? apologeticspress.org is the website, and the article that we are looking at today, Baby Dolls, Beauty Pageants, and the Sexualization of Children. It's written by our brother Eric Lyons. And, any of us who are still in the realm of reason, because we are currently living in the age of lunacy, I think it's fair to assess it that way. We currently are living in a season of lunacy. We've been here before. The age of lunacy has brought down a great many dynasties, empires, powers, leaderships, principles, and it just is what it is. We seem to repeat. We hit the repeat button time and time again, and here we are, the age of lunacy, the age in which we no longer can discern male from female, right? We are firmly convinced that paper straws and plastic cups is going to save the earth or save animals somehow, and animals have more worth than human beings, and so on and so forth. We've been here before, again. We legally slaughter our most innocent, and we pervert those who survive the birth canal, if you will, and we pervert everything around us, and anything, and you walk out the door, everything is over-sexualized, to the point we've become callous to it, really. It's just, it is what it is. Folks are just naked outside. Sexually lewd everywheres. Yeah, it's normal. It's in every industry. It's in every power and principle, from government to corporation to academic institutions to entertainment, sports, movies, music, gaming. It's even engulfed most of religious practices in the Western world, defending, sympathizing with, encouraging, promoting sexualized indecencies and whatnot. And sadly, it's the attack on the children. If lawlessness and its perversions can get to the mind of a child, then the child grows in that corruption, and therefore the devil wins, quote unquote wins. And he certainly does win various battles here and there, but he ultimately loses the war, right? So an article was written by our friends, and I believe that's the direction they will go in regards to, of course, baby dolls, beauty pageants, and the sexualization of children. Oh, it's innocent. It's all in good fun. There's nothing wrong with that. Maybe that's true. Maybe that's true. Maybe that's not. I had a live impromptu session once from my mobile on the added page, and I was talking about boys wearing blue shirts and girls wearing pink shirts, and now boys wear pink shirts and girls wear blue shirts. And is it really about the shirt? Well, there's a thought for you. Again, examining where the migraine comes from. Why do we keep taking ibuprofen? Because we keep having headaches and migraines, pains. Well, where does that come from? Why do we live in a society that is currently corrupted and riotous and filled with the most filth, filled with the filth to the brim? And upon our children is seems like the designed attack. What's going on? Well, again, maybe this article and our thoughts and studies along with it will give us some insight. So it begins and it says, and I quote, "There is a right way to rear children, and there is a wrong way. And if you're already lost to that point, then you are deep down there. It's okay. Many of us have been deep down there. You got to crawl out of that hole, though. Literally, at this point, somebody already has an objection. No, Your Honor, I object. There is no such thing as right and wrong. Well, there is. There is an objective, absolute reality to our existence. It is true that there is a wide scope of gray area matter, which is subjective. I like pepperoni on my pizza. I prefer the cured pepperoni on top of the pizza, on top of the cheese, so when it goes in the oven, it kind of crisps and curls and pops up there, and it's just yummy, 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 yummy. Maybe you like olives on your pizza or anchovies or something. I don't know. Okay, we can still be friends. No worries. It's subjective. Are you aware that my wife is the best wife in the whole world and she's the most beautiful woman I've ever seen? It's subjective. It's true to me. It's just not true to you. Well, we're not talking about subjective things in the realm of objective reality, which is a solid truth. 1 + 1 makes 2. What goes up must come down. So there's a right way to rear children. There just is. It's not, we lack perfection in those categories of parenting, no doubt. Though we try our best, we will miss the mark in various ways. But to the greater bulk, there is the right way to do it. And there is a wrong way to do it. And we've been seeing the fruits of a very wrong way to do it now in our society for decades, sadly. The article continues and it says, Abraham chose the right way. If you are seeking, of course, a scriptural example, he commanded his children to, quote, keep the way of the Lord, to do righteousness and justice. That's a right way. That's upright. That's righteous. It's the right way to do things, to keep the way of the Lord, following the pattern, system, and guidance of a divine power, the great I Am, the Ancient of Days, who has always been, is now, and will forevermore be. An intelligent designer, an engineer of sorts, who has set all good things in motion. He allowed us free will, quite the blessing. Sadly, with that responsibility, we chose to withdraw ourselves from God and live lawlessly, in a lawless way, alienating ourselves from the source of love and compassion and forgiveness and eternal life. It's a good thing that the Father saw it fit to send his Son so that you and I would have a conduit, a bridge to the Father through him and our trust in him and his way. So, yeah, Abraham did things the right way, obedient to God, and commanding his children to keep the way of the Lord, to do righteousness and justice. Your children, our children, may not become the most popular individuals in the world, if you will, but if they love Jesus and they follow Jesus, they'll be okay. We keep going, and this, of course, from Genesis 18:19. Some 2,000 years later, the inspired Apostle Paul made sure to tell the Ephesians to bring their children up, quote, in the training and admonition of the Lord. Ephesians 6:4. The Lord's way is the right way. Psalm 119:75. Now, some of us had to learn that the hard way in order to start following the right way. The blessing of our children being raised in the spiritual blessings of their innocence, in the boundaries of the local assembly, a faithful and healthy local assembly, is they can be taught to remain with the right way. And the wisdom of the right way to be lived, because some of us have done it the wrong way and learned it the hard way. Okay, so we keep reading. The Lord's way is the right way. Psalm 119:75. The right way includes diligently teaching young people to be, among other things, sensible, modest, discreet, and chaste. Titus 2:4-8, 1 Peter 3:1-5. There is a character we must wean our children to participate. There is a behavioral attribute of uprightness that they need to understand and live by. There is honor and integrity in such ways. We must train them, not with a heavy hand or an unrighteous confrontation, but by example, by word and deed, and with love. Love. True, genuine, passionate love. Have the child understand why. It's not merely do it or else. It's here's why we should. And here are the spiritual benefits, which of course trickle its way down to the physical life in which we are commanded to be good stewards of. Yeah. So sensible, modest, discreet, and chaste. It also includes warning today's youth of the dangerous works of the flesh. We need to be able to recognize the enemy. If we cannot recognize and discern the enemy, we shall be devoured by the enemy. And some of us, sadly, fell prey to such deceitful tyrannies. We thank God for His grace, His mercy, His long-suffering, His patience, calling us out away from such evil workers. Today's youth, we must warn today's youth of the dangerous works of the flesh, including the impure, the lewd, the sensual things that tend to stir up ungodly passions, worldly lusts and fleshly desires and ambitions, whether they be sexual in nature, depraved or perverted, deviant, or in various other categories of the flesh that might not be sexual in nature, yet corrupted. Our children need to know this kind of stuff. Out there, everything is sexualized, everything is corrupted and perverted. It's a fallen world, and we embrace the fallen world and the loss of God, and we fall prey to those desires and chaos, disorder, destruction, eternal death. We don't want that. That's a bad deal, man. So we got to teach our kids, right? Got to lead by example, got to teach them these things. Sadly, the article continues, the instruction, well, it's not sad because the article continues, isn't it? See how we can change the interpretation quite quickly? Sadly, the instruction of children in the ways of the Lord has diminished significantly in America. Oh, and as a Canadian over here in Canada, I can attest to the fact that it's true. I lived in America for a while. Over here in Canada, we kind of spearheaded this movement, right? We French are quite corrupt in the land of sexual desires. And yes, even in the Lord's church, spot on, very true, we've kind of diminished the quality of our willingness to even be upright. We're just like, it's fine. It's not a sin, right? It's not a sin. Is it, though? Or does it lead to? Interesting. Consequently, as the ways of the Lord are forgotten, many are promoting and partaking in the heartbreaking sexualization of children. Of course they are. Children's clothing now, right? Let's be sexy. You move it, girl. Let's twerk. Children being taught to twerk. Oh, they're innocent. There's nothing wrong with it. Yeah. Though many adults in this country will condemn, and rightly so, pedophilia, child pornography, and so on, things of that kind, many of these same individuals have contributed to the sexualization of children. It's a lack of wisdom. It's a lack of insight. They miss the mark. They can clearly see, like a post I made several weeks ago now on social media, which was designed to pierce us in a thought. It wasn't spoken or delivered in a heavy-handed condemnation or anything like that. It was just to make us think. And the thought was this: decent parents, for the most part, Christians, members of a local assembly, would never even entertain the thought of giving our children pornography or delivering them into the hands of pedophiles. Like, no. What are you, crazy? I never do that. Yet, at our current time, in this generation of lunacy, in this country, I can speak to this country, our academic institutions for our children, the curriculum and the faculty, are enforced by federal powers, which demand that our children view pornographic material and are indoctrinated in sexual deviancies. It just is an objective, absolute fact. Now, a child with a strong household teaching the child not to fall prey to those vices being taught in public school may have the willpower to stay strong against those temptations, those indoctrinations within the classroom. It happens, certainly. But for the most part, statistically, they don't, and they fall prey to it and become sexual deviants. And they turn against their parents. So the thought was quite clear. If you're going to say no, as a parent, to give your child a Playboy or Hustler magazine, why on earth are you sending them to an institution who may at one time been decent and upright, teaching us, math and English and French and science and history and so on? Now, in every facet of every class, from every teaching faculty to curriculum, designed to have our children sexually confused and depraved, manipulated, and the loss of innocence. You'd say, well, I'd never do, but we do, though. But we do. Well, there's no other option. Well, what do you mean? Well, me and my husband, we have to work around the clock to pay the bills. Yeah? Maybe there's too many bills. Just a thought. I'm not judging you or condemning anyone. I'm just throwing the thought out there. Maybe it's time we kind of think things over as Christians. Aren't we supposed to be different a little bit? Somewhat? Somehow? Called out? Set apart? Unique? If our institutions out there in public life have now been enforced federally to indoctrinate our children into sexual perversions, which is lawlessness against God, which removes them from their innocence and drives them towards an eternal destruction, maybe we need to cut some stuff out in our life. Of course, we have to grow a strong conscience. We have to teach our children that, hey, you're going to see all kinds of filth like that around us. Don't fear it. Overcome it. Don't fall prey to it. And that can be done if you send your child to a public school. We have beautiful children here who have gone to public school, who are going to public school, who are not falling prey to all that nonsense. It can be done. But it's in the minority. Statistically speaking, the opportunity that our children, if given to depraved powers at a young age, they will fall prey to it, and they will turn against their parents and turn against the system of law and love. It just is what it is. Please don't be angry at the mailman. I'm just delivering the news here to you. Okay, so let's keep reading from the article here. Many these same individuals have contributed to the sexualization of children. It may start very young when parents purchase their 4-year-old daughter's baby dolls that look more like the seductress harlot described in Proverbs 7 than an innocent little bundle of joy. That's very true. From a very young age, it's already given to them this this deliverance of filth or sexual filth, or it kind of becomes this path to unrighteous sexual thoughts or practices. I mean, look at the dolls. They look like prostitutes nowadays. Just like, here, I got you a little prostitute for your birthday. Is it innocent? Maybe. Is it not? Hey, they kind of seem to have an agenda with it. I don't know. Some of the Bratz babies manufactured by MGA Entertainment, for example, sell dolls wearing midriff tops, miniskirts, tiny bikinis, and sparkly panties. On a child? Really? Is that appropriate? If it's not appropriate with an adult, is it appropriate with a child? And someone says, well, yeah, it's appropriate with a child because the child is innocent. Well, the child is indeed innocent, but the world is corrupt. So the dolls are painted to look more like a seductive grown woman with large, glossy lips and long painted eyelashes. One manufacturing company a few years ago went so far as to make a pole dance doll. Yeah, let's make him out to be, these strippers. So outrageous was this product that even the Huffington Post ran a story titled, quote, "The 7 Most Inappropriate Products for Children" in 2010. And if the Huffington Post is saying that, it's bad, right? Number 1 on the list was the, quote, pole dance doll, which had on its box keywords such as flash and up and down. Words that the Huffington Post said sound like they were written by the happiest pedophile in Playland. I mean, it's a matter of 1 and 1 makes 2, right? I mean, look at all our current Western powers. They are corrupted. It's designed this way. So what seems to be contributing even more to the sexualization of children in America are the clothes that retail stores are selling. Now, you could replace that word America and just put anything in there now. Canada for sure. That parents are purchasing. We're buying the stuff. Can't get enough of it. LiveScience.com published a story in 2011 about a study regarding children's clothing. Parentheses, toddlers to preteen children. From 15 national retail stores. The researchers found that of the 5,666 items of clothing that were reviewed, quote, 31% had sexualizing features. In other words, they revealed or emphasized a sexualized body part such as the chest or buttocks and had sexy characteristics such as slinky material. For children, mind you, for children. Add to this the skin-tight short shorts that retailers sell and that parents buy, and the problem is compounded. Yeah, parents, you might be contributing to the sexualization of your own children. 1, if your daughter's shirts are longer than her shorts. 2, if your daughter's shorts are tighter and shorter than a pair of boxer briefs. Or 3, if the pockets of your daughter's shorts hang lower than the shorts themselves. Kind of like an upright boundary and thought to practical application in regards to modesty for our children. What about my own personal opinion on the matter? I think it is wise. I think it's a wise instruction. I think it makes sense to me. I don't think children should be sexualized. Call me crazy in today's world, right? I must be a fool. I'm just not hip to it, I'm more of the it's hip to be square kind of guy. I'm old school from an old cloth, But yeah, I don't think kids should be wearing short shorts or things like that or revealing body parts that is unnecessary. I mean, it's just, I don't know. To me, this sense seems common for all of us to have. Oh, well, but a great many Christians Moms and dads be like, oh, you're just so uppity with those things. Stop it. No, it's innocent. There's nothing wrong with it. Well, I'm not saying it's inherently sinful, or I'm just saying maybe it leads to stuff it shouldn't. I mean, again, it's not about the shirt color. Now little boys wear pink shirts and little girls wear blue shirts. But I think it's a symptom that leads to the greater source problem. And if we don't recognize it in its beginning erosions, then we're not going to be able to solidify the parameter. And there will be a breach in the wall. And I assure you, devils, they immediately recognize that breach and they will creep in there. Make a mess of stuff, you know. It destroys homes. It destroys families and relationships. It just does. It just does. So some parents, the article continues, and this is an article from our dear friends over at apologeticspress.org. Some parents have even taken this a step further by entering their young, innocent daughters, parentheses, some as young as 3 years old, into beauty pageants that reward young girls for dressing and acting like anything but the modest and discreet girls the Lord desires parents to rear. Titus 2, verses 4 through 8. 1 Peter 3, verses 1 through 5. And let me see there. Sorry, I'm just receiving a phone call there. Turn that off. Okay, so yeah, Lord desires parents to rear. Titus 2, 4 and 8. 1 Peter 3, 1 through 5. Yeah. I mean, I don't understand why we do that, but we do it. And I have, I mean, you see it all over social media from brethren, sisters in Christ, brothers in Christ, parents, moms and dads. They wean their children into these pageants, into these public dances, into wearing these kind of clothing. I mean, and then you're going to wonder why your child is sexually promiscuous. Your child is involved in sexual activities at a very young age. I can't believe it. I never done. Well, you have a part to play in that, and you are guilty. I mean, there has to be accountability to those things to a certain degree. I mean, we shouldn't. It's difficult because we love our children and we want them to be seen a certain way, and sometimes we fall prey to the deceit of it all. To have them popular as the most beautiful little girl in the pageant, or the most handsome little boy, or the most popular sports player. And there's nothing wrong, again, if you will, in the sports realm. But look at how they dress. Look at how what's the priority in their lives? What are they being taught? And stuff like that. It's just, all I'm doing is throwing out some thoughts out there for us to consider, all right? I'm not going to go, no one should be chasing each other down and knocking down doors and like, oh, what are you wearing today before you leave the house kind of stuff. It's just, I think Brother Eric Lyons has a point, From the dolls we purchase for our children to the clothes we purchase to our children from us putting them into pageants, how it's over-sexualized. It just is. It keeps going, and we read, some mothers and fathers accessorize their 5- and 6-year-old daughters with spray tans, hair extensions, and fake eyelashes and fingernails. Some even remove the hair from their prepubescent bodies. I can't pronounce that. I'm a French guy speaking these English words, and that's a big word, and I'm not educated enough to say that, but I understand what it means, and I know you do as well. We keep reading. Followed by a layer of makeup that might give Dolly Parton a run for her money. I mean, we're perverting the child. We're corrupting him or her away from the beauty that God created in his image. It's natural beauty. It is as if the parents are trying to turn their daughters into the previously mentioned. And sometimes mothers do that. Mothers may have this idea that they want to make the child, their daughter, more beautiful than they were or as beautiful as they were, and to have. Sometimes we do a great disservice to our children when we are trying to bring up our past or our desires upon the child in that way. Let's not corrupt the child. Okay? So it is as if the parents are trying to turn their daughters into the previously mentioned sexualized brats, baby dolls. Promoting this behavior is the exact opposite of teaching the important value to young ladies that, quote, charm is deceitful and beauty is passing, but a woman who fears the Lord, she will or she shall be praised. Proverbs 31:30. Now that's the kind of woman we're talking about. That's attractive. That's attractive. And sadly, and I've recognized this among Christians, the information we're reading here, I believe is true. But not to be taken and swung within the pendulum of extremes. What do I mean? Just because the information we're reading is true, that we should have prudence, that we should be thoughtful and discerning right from wrong for our children in an over-sexualized culture. We shouldn't have them playing with toys that promote sexualization or deviated sexual practices or that kind of lust. We shouldn't. And we shouldn't have them wear clothing that promote that sort of lifestyle, nor should we put them into practices or location or institutions that would further promote sexual deviancies. We shouldn't do that. However, that being said, that being true, we should neither swing the pendulum so far that we have the child scared of sex, thinking sex is the most disgusting, filthy thing on earth. It's the sheer thought of finding someone attractive is sin, and I'll be condemned to hell if I do that. Like having the child scared. Then you have a child getting married and not wanting to experience the blessing of sexual intercourse, not wanting to explore each other's bodies and sexual desires in a confined, authorized blessing. Husband-wife, male-female, husband-wife within the marriage bed. So, though we are teaching the children to stay away from sexual desires that are perverted, we want them to have sexual desires and find the fulfillment of sexual intercourse when they are married, not when they're children. They shouldn't be learning this stuff as kids. So we shouldn't have them in the realm of sexual perversion or being taught sexual perversion, whether it be the dolls they play with or the clothing they're wearing, or the various sports or organizations or institutions we want them to be in. However, we want them to be raised with the thought that there is a blessing in two becoming one when you are married. Right? That makes sense. I hope so. Makes sense to me. Okay, so we keep reading from our friends over at apologeticpress.org. These little girls, who in many ways are made to look more like grown women, are then paraded in front of an audience like eye candy. Like they're put out there in display in a corrupted world filled with sexual deviants and perverts and pedophiles. Is that really a wise thing to do? Yes, again, you have to remain within the boundaries of reason. I mean, we can't lock the child up under the bed in the basement and be like, he'll be safe there forever. Of course not. We are in this fallen life. We live among the people who live a worldly experience, and it just is what it is. But we don't participate, though. That's the difference. We don't participate in the lawlessness. Though we are surrounded by lawlessness, we don't participate in it. So to have our children sexualized and then put on a pedestal with the limelight, here's the candy, here's the product. I mean, we have, it's sad, but we have these, right? And it's legalized. It's paraded in our streets. It's called pride, where grown men are naked. Like, I'm not exaggerating these accounts. I'm not creating these accounts from my own mind. These are witnessed and recorded accounts in my country, very real time, where you have children at these pride events, over-sexualized in the clothing they wear. Little children walking among grown adults who are naked, men who are having erections looking at children who are dressed inappropriately. I don't know how to say that any differently. I don't want to be filthy. I don't want to go down that path. I'm being very mechanical with you here, just very straightforward. This is where we're at in our current culture, the age of lunacy. This was witnessed and recorded this year. It happens every year since this has been given the path to public power. We have men, naked men, being aroused at these parades with children wearing sexualized clothing, sexualized makeup, sexualized everything. And apparently this is legal. And not only is it legal, it's enforced by the law. And if you choose to oppose that in any way, shape, or form, you are guilty of hate speech, and you can face 2 to 10 years in jail or heavy fines. To point out and say that's corrupted, that's perverted, that's wrong. That's now considered hate speech. How did we make it here? Just, again, hear me out. Follow the train of thought to its source. Where does it all come from? How did it all begin? There's nothing wrong with putting pink shirts on a little boy. It's not a sin. But what Pandora box have we opened, though? Why even start with that? It's cultural, I know that. I'm speaking in the Western tongue, I know that. It's little boys used to wear the color blue and little girls used to wear the color pink. But it worked, though, didn't it? And was it so bad? Was it so egregious that we had to be like, no, we have to switch the roles now. We have to kill the culture that treated us well? Where did it all begin? Sexy dolls to make our children sexy? Wearing sexy clothing? And then putting them in locations where they're paraded as candy for the pedophiles? I tell you, man, we better wake up. There's a harsh judgment coming, and y'all ain't gonna like it, man. It ain't gonna be cool. I've read the books. I've seen the history. I've seen the repeat button go on and on. You ain't gonna like how this ends. Or maybe we can change. How can we change the culture? The gospel of Jesus Christ. Why do you think they hate Christianity so much? You think that's just an accident? It's all designed to destroy Christianity. Christianity is the foundation of our liberty and freedom. It is the power in which instructs us into forgiveness, into salvation, guiding us into an upright life, right from wrong. Oh, I tell you. So the article continues, they are asked to sing and dance and take people's breath away. I recently saw a clip of a talk show where one woman was critical of the pageant, saying, "You said it's not sexualizing the kids, and there is nothing mature about the performance. Yet one of the little ones is shaking her backside, shaking her booty, and she said so." One mother's sad defense. What does that have to do with anything? That's having fun. It's having fun. Yeah, sure. Having fun. Going to be a lot of fun when you have to deal with abortions, children out of wedlock, a whole bunch of different baby daddies, court dates, lawyers, divorces. Yeah, that's fun. That's real fun. See, that's what happens when we don't have the insight of tomorrow and the consequences of our actions today and what will happen tomorrow. Kids are just having fun. Yeah, sin has a pleasure to it, no doubt. Sin is fun. No worry. I know it. Trust me, I know it. I've lived it. But the consequence of tomorrow, the fruit it bears, you ain't going to like that part of it all. You ain't going to like that. Let's keep reading. Another defensive mother added, "If people are looking at a child in a sexy way, then there's something wrong with them." Well, that's a true statement. If you are looking at a child with perverted sexual desires, there's something wrong with you. There's something wrong with you to the measurement in which you no longer should be permitted in society. That's how bad this is. I've struggled with many sins in my life. Many, many sins. Again, for those of you who have followed me for a long time, you know I come from a pretty checkered background. We had organized our crime. We were quite powerful. We did a lot of stuff, living a hedonistic kind of life. Heathen, pagan. We did a whole bunch of stupid stuff. Really. And forgive the word. I'm being a bit harsh with it, but we did a lot of foolish things there. I prefer the word foolish. I did a whole bunch of that. However, even with the ocean or the palate-filled practices of foolishness that I certainly experienced willfully, the measurement of an individual who seeks a child for sexual deviancies is above that. Even in our world that we used to live in, the world of organized crime, violence, hardcore narcotics, prostitution, gambling, all of it. Even we, as heathens, pagans, would soon dig a grave for your soul if you dared look at a child in any sexual way. Isn't that crazy? Why? Because it's that bad. You no longer should be permitted in society if you are an individual who looks at children with sexual desire. I can't even fathom the thought. I don't even know how someone can. I don't even know how that works. You have to have a broken mind. There's just no way around that. I can't make sense of it. I don't know how someone does that. Okay. Fast forward. It's legal now. It's enforced by national powers. Now we have them in our streets parading with our children in sexual deviancy. It's protected now. Where did that come from? How did we get here? Well, dolls, pageants, and children. If people are looking at children in a sexy way, then there's something wrong with them. There is. There is. That's a true statement. However, in her ignorance and arrogance to that end, she's missing the mark. She's participating in the very act that brought forth the extreme. Therein is excess. Don't get drunk. Therein is excess, Paul would tell his brethren in Ephesus. You start that process, it leads to the extreme. It leads to the extreme. The article continues, perhaps, but when a mother intentionally makes her 5-year-old look, act, talk, and flirt and dance like a harlot, we should not be surprised that some men will find this satisfying to their sexual senses. Now, does one extinguish the other? Of course not. Both are wrong in this here account. The mother who's making her little daughter look like a prostitute is wrong. And the man who's looking at that little daughter of hers in a sexual way is wrong. Both are wrong. But you can have precaution, prudency. You can extinguish something from happening before it happens. There is an opportunity window to do that. If you don't sexualize your child, that doesn't mean that there won't be perverts out there still looking at your child with sexual deviancy, but that measurement of account diminishes greatly. It diminishes. Kind of like you may have less thievery in your business if you have camera surveillance, or you have signs that say, security is here, or beware of dog or something. The man who violates a full-grown woman, rapes a full-grown woman, is wrong. He should be apprehended and put in jail. There should be a consequence. It should be harsh. No doubt. He's wrong. But the grown woman who's out there in a mini showing off her backside, showing her breast, painted in a way that is very seductive and sensual, she's not void of guilt. She's aggravating or facilitating the path to that end. Just trying to be reasonable here, man. We're just trying to be reasonable here. In fact, the article continues, in fact, one woman responded to the show online saying, quote, "When you dress a child up like a prostitute, have her act like one, shaking her bottom, etc., you are just asking for trouble. You're invoking it. You're opening the door to the vampire, right? Every pedophile out there is watching, getting their thrills at your child's expense," she says. Well, that's it. That's it. And now, it's even more dangerous now. It's more important now than it has ever been that we make sure our children are not participating in these things, because it is now legalized, enforced, and promoted by federal powers. So now pedophilia is accepted. Some of us knew this day was coming, of course. The moment we opened the closet to homosexuality, the moment we said you no longer need to hide, we want to promote you, we want to encourage you, everything's normal in two men having anal sexual intercourse, that's normal, that's love. The minute we allowed the closet to open for that, we knew there was going to come a day where we were going to legalize, enforce, promote, encourage pedophiles. No, this is not fear-mongering. It's a matter of reality. It just is. I mean, we have TED Talks now, recorded accounts speaking this very thing, saying we shouldn't feel ourselves alienated from pedophiles. It's just a different sexual preference, that's all. We've been misunderstanding them, is all. We're here. Where are you on the map? We're here now. The age of lunacy. Okay, so the article continues and says, only the naive or the immoral will not admit to the obvious sexualization of children in America, or in Canada, or anywhere in the Western world now, for that matter. It just is. So when we have brothers and sisters, believers, so-called Christians, who try to defend, who try to promote or sympathize with the over-sexualized culture, they are indeed naive. They are indeed immoral. They are corrupted with it, maybe in ignorance, but they are corrupted. They're missing the mark, and man, listen, there's an eternal consequence to that. It is so obvious that even liberal organizations such as the Huffington Post and LiveScience.com recognize it. Like, even if certain branches of the enemy are capable of recognizing that on their side they've gone too far on certain things, then yeah. But again, give it enough time, as has happened, even the Huffington Post and Live Science start to agree with it. Start to say, love is love. Nothing wrong with that. Question, the article says, question. Are you submitting to the Lord's will to rear sensible, humble, modest, and discreet children who are letting their Christian lights shine? Like, is that what we're doing? Like, I'm as challenged as you are with these questions. I have 3 children. I love them dearly. I'd give my life for them. I don't want them to be over-sexualized. I don't want any deviants out there looking at them in a way they should not. man, that would tempt me greatly into violence. I don't want to do that. So I need to, as a parent, do the best I can to make sure they're modestly dressed and that they participate in things that are upright. Now, of course, they watch movies, they listen to music, they play games, but there is a boundary to those things in which they participate in. And they are being taught to have a strong conscience, to know and recognize lawlessness, not participate in it, however, know how to react to it, know how to try to reach those who are lost in that world and bring them to the light of our Lord and Master, where there is peace and healing, love. The world calls lust or unrighteous lust love, right? They call good evil and evil good. So we have to train our children to know the difference and say, hey, no, listen, out there they're calling good evil and evil good, but in here we're going to teach you what real evil, like to call evil evil and to call good good. Okay, so it continues and says, are you teaching about the sinfulness and danger of impure, lewd, and sensual things that tend to stir up ungodly passions? Yeah, we have to. Not only are we doing so as parents in our home, but we do so with our local assembly. We have little babies to seniors in our assembly, our growing assembly. Toddlers, children, young teens, young adults. We all together in the same location, same assembly, are taught these things so as to learn. I assure you, out there in the world, they're teaching your children how to participate in lewdness and sensual things and impurities. So we are teaching them the opposition to those evil acts. We are teaching them the purity of Christ and how one is to remain with Christ. So the article continues. Or, it says, or are you working hand in hand with Satan in the sexualization of children by what you purchase and allow your own kids to wear? So again, what are we doing as parents? Are we on the right side or are we on the wrong side? As the article began, there's a right way to parent, there's a wrong way to parent. Are we doing it the right way? If you are uncertain, where do we go to know the answer? The Bible. Start reading the New Testament. Turn off all distractions. Start reading in Matthew. Read Matthew, Mark, Luke, and read as much as you can. Read the New Testament for yourself. You don't need to run to your pastor. You don't need to run to your reverend, to your priest, to your neighbors, to your mom and dad, to your coworkers. Read it for yourself. Start reading. You may not understand everything the first time you read it. I didn't, far from it. But I did understand some stuff. And I kept reading until I understood some more stuff. Do that. After a while, your mind will be governed by the Spirit who wrote that book. And it makes us wise. It makes us wise. And to be wise is to keep the innocence of our children in such an age of lunacy. It's important information, man. We need to find this gem of sense we used to have in common in the Western world. We have to, man. That's it. There's no other way around that. All right. Well, that concludes this podcast session. Reading an article from our dear friends over at apologeticspress.org titled Baby Dolls, Beauty Pageants, and the Sexualization of Children. What are your thoughts? Leave comments. If you have questions, please consider subscribing, following, liking, and sharing this session far and wide. Maybe there's others out there who, may be encouraged by this information or may be challenged by it. We have to start somewhere. There's a lot of evil out there. We might as well share good stuff. Right? I think so. Stefan Maillet is my name. AddedSouls.com is the website. I labor alongside the East Coast Church of Christ over here on the East Coast of Canada. You can check out the .com, eastcoastchurchofchrist.com. We also have a Facebook page. However, Facebook has not been permitting us to upload stuff anymore because, well, it's Christian content, and we all know that these platforms don't really like Christian content. But you can find a great many sermons that have been uploaded thus far over there. And yeah, if you would seek to find a good work to support, you can support me and the Added Souls ministry. You can sign up to addedsouls.locals.com. Over there, you'll have exclusive content, things for supporters there. It helps put food on the table. That's what it does. Food, shelter, and clothing. It helps me operate with the ministry. So please consider supporting. Yeah, have questions or concerns, reach out. We'll have a phone call, video chat, anything that you need to have. I love to serve. I love to serve. All right, friends, stay focused and stay positive. You are appreciated. You are loved. Lord willing, till next time, peace out.